Basically, this video is about why I chose to leave San Francisco after living there for 5 years. Yeah, I'm V-Rock. I travel, do adventures, and I explore. And I'm bringing you guys on my journey. So if you want to see part of the cool things that I'm doing with my life, get inspired, learn something, subscribe. I'm new here, but I'm going to be sticking around, so you might as well get used to me. There's a lot of reasons I don't really have them in order, so I'm just going to be talking. The first reason, guys, I know if you've looked into San Francisco, people say this, but it is expensive. Like, it is so expensive. Like, it's so crazy. Coming from where I grew up at in the Midwest, it's just like the prices of things are just so ridiculous, especially if you don't come from like a lot of money, or you weren't never taught about money and how to be financially smart. San Francisco will be a death trap for you. Like, housing is ridiculous. The cost of housing is just, it's so inflated because San Francisco is really small. That's one other reason why I chose to leave. San Francisco is very small, reasonably small. Like, and there's so many people crammed in there. It's just like you never have any space to breathe. Like, there's nowhere in the city you can go and just be alone with nobody there. And like, for me, I don't know, that's important. I know some people, like, you gotta have time to yourself, but it's just like, say you go to the park just to get and there's like 50 people there. Like, I know it's the public, but it's just like, there's very few places, I would say, in San Francisco where you can go and truly, genuinely be alone. Just like, you can't recharge, or everywhere you go, it just feels like you're just being suffocated by the amount of people who just everywhere. Like, everywhere you turn, like, you go in the grocery store, and every single aisle you turn down, there's at least like 5 to 10 people in the exact same row, like every single aisle. And it's just like, fuck, like, bro, you can't even get in there. Great, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, groceries are super expensive. Like, it's like, so you either eat out or you go to the grocery store, and it's kind of like, if you have an apartment that you can cook in. See, that's the thing. Having an apartment that you can cook in San Francisco is low-key a luxury. A decent kitchen that you can actually cook in and prepare meals in is very hard to come by. It's like, or you're gonna be paying a lot for it. That's if you're not sharing it with a roommate. So you gotta think, like, you're gonna have to do some roommate stuff. I actually had a roommate once, and it was so crazy. It was like, I lived on Haight Street. Anybody know Haight Street? If you're looking in San Francisco, you know Haight Street. I lived on Haight Street for a summer. And just through Craigslist, guys, I just went on there and found it. Like, this is a thing that you do in San Francisco. Like, growing up where I'm from, like, that's not a thing. Like, nobody does that. No one has roommates. So that's another reason why. If you want to live there, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a roommate. And being a student in college is just like, boom, boom, boom. You don't have a lot of money. You're not working a lot, you know, all this, all that. So you're going to probably have to have a roommate, you know, and it's just like, for someone who's not used to that experience, it'd be like a roommate in a small space already on top of that is just like, it doesn't sit well with me. Like, if you're lucky enough, you can get a 1-bedroom, but it'll be like the smallest, measliest 1-bedroom you could ever find, and that's probably coming in at the minimum. It depends on also what neighborhood. Like, do you want to stay in a nice area? Can you afford to live in a nice area? So a 1-bedroom in a nice area where you don't have to deal with any of San Francisco's bullshit, which is another thing that I'm going to get into right after this, is another reason why I chose to leave. But if you want to have a 1-bedroom in like a decent part of San Francisco where you don't have to deal with the bullshit, and I'm not talking about like, because there's nice areas of San Francisco that are nice, but it's like you still deal with San Francisco's bullshit. So it's just like, when I say bullshit, I mean like the bullshit. It's crazy. So if you want a 1-bedroom in a place with no bullshit in San Francisco, I would say like at least $3,500, and that's like on the most minimalist of scales. If you can find that, and there aren't like literally like 1,000 other people also trying to get that same place, like, you're lucky if you can find that for that price. Like 1 in a million. The only way you can find something like that is if you agree to pay the landlord, like, maybe like 6 months up front. So that's one thing. You'll get priced out. Like, people will come and be like, oh, I'll pay you for the whole 2 years right now. I'll pay you for a whole year right now. And the landlord is going to take that offer because why not, you know? So now I'll get into another reason why I left, which is San Francisco's bullshit. So if you don't have the money to live in somewhere where there isn't bullshit, excuse me, then there's a lot of bullshit to deal with. And by bullshit, I mean talking about the drug dealing, the drug addicts, the prostitution, the crime, the theft, things like that. Like there's a lot of this going on. And San Francisco is set up in a way that they don't prosecute for certain crimes. So a lot of these crimes, like the things that I just mentioned, are the police won't really pursue or engage with this type of crime because the judge is not gonna prosecute them. So there's kind of no point in even wasting your time and energy to stop drug dealing and all this stuff like that and prostitution because the things that I just said. Another thing I want to talk about, like SF bullshit, man, there's a lot to list in this area. Like, man, you see some pretty crazy things, people with mental illness, you see needles on the sidewalk, use needles like syringes and stuff like that for people to shoot up drugs. You see people, like just people in horrible conditions, guys. Like I've seen people who with like flesh-eating parasites, with their skin all basically like falling off, and it's pretty fucked up to see things like that. You see overdoses, guys. I've seen like a handful of overdoses myself. Even had to kind of intervene and try to help out where I could in two of those cases. One of them was a pregnant girl, let's say that. I think they said that she was like maybe like 15-ish or somewhere in her teens, and she was pregnant and she overdosed, guys. And they flagged down, I was driving down the street and they flagged down my car because they needed someone to call an ambulance because none of them had phones because these are all people who were living on the streets. So I had to, actually was driving Uber at the time, which was crazy. So me and my Uber passengers all had to pull over and help this woman out. And luckily she did survive, which we're thankful for. All the cases that I've been in contact with overdoses, the people did survive. But it's still traumatic to see things like that and to see people in that predicament. Another case of that, like I had just gotten home, parked in a kind of like a small like side street alleyway in San Francisco. There was a guy and his friend out there. I guess they had just got high or whatever. I don't know what drug they were actually taking. Most likely fentanyl. Fentanyl is out there in the streets of San Francisco and it's wreaking havoc. You see a lot of overdose. He was trying to wake his friend up and so I was like, hey, are you guys all right? Do you need anything? He's like, no, we're fine. And so he just kept saying, no, we're fine. Like he was kind of like standoffish. I was like, well, okay, I offered my help, so I'm just gonna go in the house. When I got in the house, I talked to my girlfriend about it, and I just felt uneasy, and we were like, come on, let's just both go out there and check. And when we came back out there the second time, the guy was now panicking, the friend overdosing at that point, and the friend was trying to wake him up like frantically. And so we just hopped on the phone and tried to call paramedics to get someone out there. And eventually he did. He was trying to look for his Narcan. You guys know Narcan is a thing, like you do see it used in real cases and it actually works, so I'm thankful that it worked. Guy had a can of Narcan in his bag. He was able to pull out, but he was panicking so much that he couldn't find it at first, but he ended up finding it. He injected him with the Narcan and his friend literally came back to life. Like he literally went like that, guys. The craziest thing. And he just like told him to get up and like kind of like walk it off, and he could like, his muscles were kind of weak, but he made it through. So last case, towards the end of my time in San Francisco, there was a guy, he was riding his bike. This was late at night. This is probably like 10, 11:30 at night. And I was just walking down the street somewhere in the Mission District. Mission District is another heavy hit area by drugs and homelessness and just a lot of things that I'm talking about in this video. And I just see a guy, like the bike is still in between his legs, but he's laid out on the car and he had hit his head really bad on the concrete. I'm assuming he was riding and he started to overdose and he fell off the bike. Bro, just luckily that I was just there in that moment. Because who knows how long before things got serious and dire to where he would not made it through. Stayed there until came and they were able to bring him back to consciousness. There's a lot of human feces. There's a lot of human, like the little poop on the streets. Like people take shits on the streets, guys. Shit on the sidewalk and the smell of piss or the smell of this and just trash everywhere. The bug, like there's roaches and there's rats and there's like, congestion and there's just like so much noise, noise from people, noise from traffic, noise from this, noise from that. Deal with people, they got the car break-ins. That's another thing. The car break-ins in San Francisco is a fucking epidemic, and it's like literally an epidemic. Like you think that you can park your car, like it's not safe to park your car at any point in time, low-key, because it's like even if it's the middle of the day on the busiest street in San Francisco. Like you could be on Market Street, which is like the main street downtown. I mean, people don't park there, but you get what I'm saying? Like if you park anywhere around there, you're on like you're on a place and there's like literally like hundreds of people walking past. You would think that a criminal wouldn't want to be caught. That's part of being a criminal. I thought was being like, you know, sneaky, but it's like in San Francisco, the meaning of criminal means brazen. It means like, oh, there's all these people right here, but if there's no police right here who can see me, who can stop me like this very instant, then anything is up for grabs at that point. Middle of the day, broad daylight, like a Saturday at 3 p.m. in the hottest part of the top parts, you know, you can be at Fisherman's Wharf, you can be at anywhere, Fisherman's Wharf, downtown, Embarcadero, anywhere. Any of these places, it's a go. Like you're like nothing is off limits pretty much. So like you can park your car somewhere and you won't even have shit in there. Like you might leave like a lunchbox. You might leave a fucking your child's diaper bag. You might leave like anything and people will break into your car and steal that even if it's nothing of value. It's worse. Like, okay, you're a tourist and you come there and you leave your bags in your car because you don't know, you thinking it's safe, or you're in a parking lot. You paid to park in a parking garage or a parking lot, like, you know, you think that that's safe because like, oh, it's a parking garage, it's a parking lot, there's an attendant, no. People will still come in there and smash your windows and steal your shit out of your car. San Francisco, why I chose to leave San Francisco. Let's talk about the car situation, the traffic situation, the transportation situation. Transportation in itself in San Francisco, like each of these things I'm talking about are literally a separate video for themselves, and I'm trying to mash them down. So guys, please bear with me. This is pretty tough. Okay, so most people in San Francisco don't drive. And there's a reason why they don't drive. Just because having a car is a fucking headache. It's literally like, don't have a car in San Francisco unless you absolutely need it. And like, for the most part, you don't absolutely need it all the time. Having a car and having the freedom of mobility is like something that I grew up, like where I grew up, like that was a thing in the Midwest. Everything is spaced so far, so you have to have a car. But then it's also like the freedom of being able to be mobile and to move freely how you want to, not on anybody else's schedule, like public transportation. And there's alternatives to public transportation that aren't having your own car, and I'll talk about those too in a second. But it's just like, okay, versus, let's get back to public transportation. The public transportation is like, you can only go so far with public transportation, and I mean, like, when I say so far, I mean physically and also, I guess, freedom mobility wise. Like, you're not free. Like, say you want to go on a hike somewhere to some place, like there's not really a way to get specifically there to do that. And it's like, okay, well, that's where a situation where another thing would come into play, which would be like an Uber, or like even an Uber doesn't kind of fit that specific situation either, you know? Like, you can't take an Uber to like the wilderness and go hiking, and or you know, something like that. So it's just like you're very limited in what you can do. Or if you want to go to the beach, like it's kind of like, I guess in San Francisco there's a bus you can take to get to the beach, but maybe you don't want to go in San Francisco. Maybe there's like a beach over somewhere, like okay, Marin Headlands. Like, say you want to go to Marin Headlands, which is a very famous place that is opposite the Golden Gate Bridge, apart from San Francisco. Like, oh, you want to go there, and it's literally just across the bridge. Like, it's right there, you can reach out and touch it. But it's like, if you don't have a car, no other form of transportation really fits a journey like that or an adventure like that. So it's just like, you're very limited into what you can do if you don't have your own car. There's alternatives for everything, for every situation, but those alternatives are very expensive, to the point where it's just like a day trip or something like that in San Francisco just to go there would cost you like $200 to $300, you know? If it doesn't cost you a lot, like maybe if you can get it under $100 or something crazy, like something super cheap, it's not readily available all the time, you know? Like, it's not at your will. It's kind of like you gotta do so much prep work, and you gotta book this, and you gotta book that, and to do all this and do all that. It's like you can't just get up and just go, you know? So I guess I'll kind of just rambling on here. So I'm trying to be more structured with this, if possible. I don't know. I'm just rambling, guys. I'm just talking. So why I left San Francisco? I left San Francisco because the cost, and I'm not talking about just like monetarily, guys, like not just the money that you pay, but like the energy that you put into it, the stress, everything that comes with it. That's what I mean by cost. The cost of living there wasn't worth the value of what living in San Francisco was giving, if that makes sense, guys. So yeah, San Francisco is a very beautiful place. The cost to access that is like insanely overvalued in the monetary sense, but also just like the energy that you put into it. You have to put in a lot of energy to what you get back. It's not a fair trade-off. Like, you're paying a lot of money, a lot of energy, and a lot of attention, a lot of focus into being crammed in a lot of shit on a lot of different fronts, like a lot of just different things. A lot of different people battling different things. And that kind of, it fucks with you, because you see certain things and you hear certain things, or you just see people in certain situations. You don't have the energy or the time to even to help them out in any kind of way that you can. I'll say this. I'm trying to wrap this up because it's getting pretty long, but so ultimately I decided to leave San Francisco during the pandemic, and the pandemic wasn't the big reason why I decided to leave. It wasn't that specifically, but I'm kind of glad that I did, because I see that the Bay Area, not just San Francisco, a lot more rough, a lot more grimy since the pandemic, you know? And it makes sense because people dealing with a lot of shit, you know? And the pandemic kind of just added fuel to the fire. Kind of lawless out there, it seems like. And I got out just in time, I feel, before it really popped off. I ended up leaving San Francisco in July of 2020. But I'm so glad that I took this step and decided to take that journey, you know, because it was a good step and it was a good move for me, and just literally at the perfect time, like just all chance, perfect time, perfect storm of things to happen for me. So yeah, that's why I decided to leave San Francisco. For a clearer mind, clearer piece of thought, breath of fresh air, more space, a chance, like more attunement, to be in tune with what really matters to you and what you care about in life, you know. Focus. Clarity. I don't know, I'm probably repeating a lot of different things, but anybody watching this, just remember that. And remember, if you're deciding if you want to move there, or if you're deciding even if you already live there and you're thinking about leaving, if you're thinking of whatever, however you came into contact with this video or what interests you in this video, just know that the cost to live there, is it worth it? For your mental health, for your clarity, for your growth, for your soul, for your spirit, for your physical health, for your physical safety, anything on, like, there's a lot of different fronts to look at it. And I'm not gonna say that it was all bad. I had a great time in San Francisco. Like you guys see, I got my SF Giants World Championship ring on. I got this. It's a little piece of shit and it's not real, but it's just something that I picked up just to remind me of my time there, you know, because it was an important part of my life, of especially my adult life. You have like your childhood life, your adulthood, like your teenage years, whatever you want to call it, but this is the beginning of my adult life. Like I said, I moved there when I was 18, like the start of my adult life. I became like I was an adult, like I lived by myself in a home. Like I didn't have family out here. I didn't know, like, my family lives thousands of miles on the other side of America, you know. I didn't know anyone, didn't have any friends like that, you know, when I moved out there. So it was just like you build a life. Adult and building this life is what, you know, San Francisco was a part of that life, you know, which helped mold me into kind of the adult that I am today. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't all bad. It put me in place for where I needed to be, for things that I wasn't aware of. I'm happy with what I've learned, happy with what I experienced. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you watched to the very end, I don't know how long this video is going to be because I talked a lot. I'm going to try to cut it up, but if you enjoyed this video, please like the video. If you're from San Francisco and you're watching this, shouts out to you. If you're from anywhere else, shouts out to you. Shouts out to everybody. Shouts out to California. Shouts out to the Bay Area. Shouts out to shouts out to everybody, man. But yeah, if you came this far, thank you so much for watching. You're a real one. Please like the video. Smash that fucking like button, please. Please smash that fucking like button. Please smash that subscribe button. Please check out some of my other videos, man. I got a lot going on here. I'm new here, but I'm gonna be sticking around, so you might as well get used to me. Like I said, I'm V-Rock. I travel, do adventures, and I explore. And I'm bringing you guys on my journey. So if you want to see part of the cool things that I'm doing with my life, get inspired, learn something about anything, man. It's so much to learn and so much to see out in the world, man. Subscribe, man. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Peace out.